as we introduce to you the Honorable Dr. George S. Boley Sr. Dr. Boley, hello and welcome to the show.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing very well. And yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you, and thank you for having me.
Okay, Doc, let us take 1 or 2 minutes to get your opening statement.
Thank you. Well, for your audience and those watching, let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Dr. George S. Boley Sr., current representative of District 2, Grand County, Kunemo District. Um, and I am an aspirant for the Senate. Now, the Senate, every county, as you know, has 2 senators. We have 3 district representatives. One would say that why would you, you're a representative already, why would you want to aspire to the Senate? The challenges confronted by Kunemo District, which I currently represent, are actually common to the county. In other words, Kunemo District is a microcosm of Grand County. Having done what we've accomplished in 2 years and 6 months as a representative, we believe that at the level of the Senate, the county stands to be adequately represented, and what is needed to bring Grand to the fore in terms of representation will be what we will bring to the Senate. Having said that, I am availing myself to the audience to discuss issues of concern, both in the county and in Liberia.
Thank you. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us tonight Dr. George S. Boley Sr., representative of District 2, Grand County, Republic of Liberia. Well, again, let me do some quick housekeeping here. Folks, this platform is for all of you out there. You are free to ask any question of concern or questions. Midway in the program, we're going to open up the telephone lines to you all, where you will have the opportunity to call in and ask Dr. Boley any question of your choice. All we ask is simply keep it civil. Sometimes, we all get emotional and our choice of words, uh, you know, be out of whack. But again, this platform is free of profanity. You can disagree with somebody, but we ask that you be civil. Again, he's willing, and in fact, that's why he asked to be here, so that he can engage you, the Liberians in the diaspora. So this is just one of the chances you have to interact with him directly, and he's willing to answer questions of your concern. Now, Dr. Boley, how are the people of District 2, Grand County, in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic?
We're doing well. What we have done in the district is to assist our people in terms of giving them advice, giving them the necessary information needed, first of all, about this particular pandemic and what we need to do as a people to survive. We sent a team out into the district, in fact, actually throughout the county, and engaged our health workers and the citizens. And I think it was very successful. We managed to do things that people didn't expect. But again, it takes creativity and ingenuity. And we succeeded in getting to them or the advice needed to, keep this virus, keep the families free of the virus pandemic.
Okay. Well, Dr. George S. Boley, former Minister of State, former Minister of Post and Telecom, former Minister of Education, and former member of the Council of State, and former warlord of LPC, now a representative or lawmaker. What was some of your proud moments, and what was some of your worst decision or actions as a government official?
Well, that's an interesting question. That's a very loaded question. I should I begin from the last comment or start in the same sequential order?
What the ball is in your court. You can start whatever you feel comfortable at.
Thank you. First of all, I've been in government for quite some time, going as far back as 1978, actually. And through those years, I've had I've been working in various administrations, and uh, quite I've been quite productive. I've been very um, you know uh, effective in the various entities you just named. Okay, in government, in the ministerial positions, I left footprints that are memorable. So let me begin by starting first in education. In the field of education, between 78 and up until the war years, during my tenure as Minister of Education, many of the schools in this country, through World Bank projects, were built on my watch, including the school in Kunambo that you attended. And the Zwedu Model High School, 1978, the one in Bunjima, 1981, the Habel Model High School, and on and on. Many of the schools between that period were constructed on my watch. The Matthew G. Doe Elementary School in Tucson, Grand Gila County, in Babula Town, in Janson, were built during my tenure. That's education. As Minister of Post and Telecommunications, I constructed the regional post office in Zwedru. As Minister of Education, also, I constructed the Regional Education Center in Zwedru, Grand Gila County, making Grand Gila County the regional center for the Southeast. You mentioned Minister of State. At the Minister of State, the Minister of State is the chief of office staff for the presidency. You work with the legislators, with the president's cabinet in various positions. I've done those things credibly and effectively. And I'm proud of what I've done in government through these years. You made a reference to the word warlord. I'm not a warlord. You know, the word warlord defined in the dictionary, it's quite different from what people intended to be. I didn't go to war against anybody. I didn't loot anything. I didn't pass any orders to do any summary executions. Those are the imaginations of people who don't know the meaning of the word warlord. And I'm challenging all of you who are scholars and academicians to deal with that. And so in other words, I'm asking you also, since you use the term warlord, give me your perception of what a warlord is. Okay. I resisted a war and I survived. And I'm proud of what I did. And as I said, I would do that again under similar circumstances. Um, the war years were terrible years for this country. I was one of those who brought about peace mistakenly. People, believe that participating in the war, that one must have engaged in atrocities and heinous crimes and whatnot. That's a wrong perception. And so, without really much ado, I try to let people know that they sometimes and often misuse the word warlord. The other word, rebel. A rebel is defined as someone who unduly, without provocation, attempts to remove a constituted government. I never attempted at any point in time in my life to undo a constituted government. So that's just it. I believe, Mr. Garland, that my years in government have been productive, have been meaningful, and have contributed to the development of this country, and particularly in the war years, unfortunately in this country, was one of those who brought about the peace. And there's a lot of misconception about my role in this country
What Dr.
with
Boley,
respect to that particular time.
Dr. Boley, help us understand. You were the leader of LPC,
Yes, sir.
and LPC is not a name that represents a restaurant or a disco. LPC it came to being, and you fought war. And when people fought war, you don't expect to see milk and onion. People died, and in
Yeah.
this case, people died as a result of what you did as the leader of LPC. So how will you describe the leader of LPC?
Uh, that's true. During war, people die. War is not pleasant. LPC is not the name of a restaurant. LPC is the acronym for Liberia Peace Council. I repeat, Liberia Peace Council. And I will not go into the history, but the role of the LPC since its inception in May of 1990 was intended to resist war, to bring about peace. And we did that. The LPC was an organization designed to bring about peace, and it assisted in bringing about the peace. The LPC had no military bases, no headquarters, and yet it was successful in working with the West African peacekeepers that came to this country to restore law and order. Most people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that. You know, maybe this is an opportunity to let Liberians know that what we did here, what the LPC did, is worthy of commendation. Yes, people die. Wars are not, parties. Even during parties, people get, wounded. But I did not, at any point in time, organize any organization. I had no resources to purchase weapons. No. So this whole idea of you organize a warring faction and people died, it's a myth. Yeah. And what the ECOMOG did here and what we did here, and let me perhaps make this public for the first time, was to assist the African peacekeepers who came here, who did not know the terrain, and who needed the support of trusted people in this country. There were powerful countries who did not want to see ECOMOG succeed, who would glut over Africans' failures in trying to bring about peace in Africa. When the war started in Liberia, the position of the powerful United States was African solution for an African problem. All of you know that. African solution for an African problem. So we found the African solution. ECOMOG came here. We cooperated with them at their request to bring peace to Liberia and make sure African solutions found for African problems. And what we did here in Liberia was emulated by important countries like the United States. I repeat, what we did here was copied by powerful countries like the United States, in Iraq, in Afghanistan. Who found Saddam Hussein in Iraq? It wasn't the Americans. They had over 100,000 troops on the ground. It took an Iraqi to find Saddam Hussein. Who knows Liberia than the Liberians? And when things got out of hand, they needed someone like George Boley to lead something called the RPC. And we brought the peace. Thank you.
Now, Dr. Boley, people from Grand Judah see you as a hero.
Yes.
People from Nima County see Prince Johnson as a hero. Now, people from Central Liberia, including Bon County, see you as a bad man because you were the head of LPC, and again, as a result of what happened, people died. Now, do you have any regrets? Do you have any apology to say to the lives that were lost in Central Liberia?
Well, Mr. Garland, to you and all the Liberians here and abroad listening to this broadcast, I repeat, I personally, first of all, you cannot compare a Prince Johnson to George Boley. We're not the same. Okay? We're not the same. Prince Johnson's conduct is quite different from what I'm alleged, I'm accused to have done, or what people perceive me to have done. And let me go straight to the question you asked, if I have any regrets. I have absolutely no regrets about my role in bringing peace to Liberia. Those who do not know now or didn't fail to perceive what role we played will come to realize when the truth is told. Again, Central Liberia, look, you're talking about Bon County and other parts of this country. The entire Republic of Liberia, when this NPFL was launched, we were told that Mr. Doe was the target. People who had never seen Mr. Doe, never benefited from him, became victims. Okay? And when there's a war, people suffer. I just told you previously that our role was to assist in bringing about peace. Those people who did not understand that and believe that we're people who, we didn't perpetrate anything here. Okay? Bringing Grandjidans home, and other Liberians from Ivory Coast across the border, in refugee camps in Ghana. Okay. They have a right to be here. And, you know, I have a right to be here. And those people who decided to exterminate our people, including some of us, you know, just didn't succeed and would not have succeeded on our arts. So there is no regret to being alive. If I were dead, you wouldn't be talking to me now. So I have no regrets. And those people who were in refugee camps out of this country, the millions of them, 700,000, I'm sure they have no regrets. We have a country called Grand Judah. It cannot be taken for granted. We are part and parcel of this Republic of Liberia. And when someone tells me you cannot go home from Cestus to Maryland, would be called Grand Nima, I mean, it's history now. But I don't think the people in Nima are actually, Granjin and Nima got no issues. This whole thing was fabricated, was actually, uh, we were just used against ourselves. Let's admit that. Okay. And I think we need to move on. Apportioning blame is not going to solve the problem. Okay. Stories to get people to resettle in the US. Okay. There are all kinds of stories. There are erroneous stories. Those people who settled in America, we know the stories they made up to get there. Many of them. Everybody you talk to, many of them in the United States, tens and thousands of them, they will give you horrible stories. Either NPFL killed them or LPC killed them. And I know that for a fact, because I know how many of them got to the States to make these stories up to go to someplace where the thing was safe. So without much ado, your question was, do I have regrets? I have no regrets. I
Thank
did
you.
the right thing by my conscience.
Thank you. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you just joining us, this is Ashford God Live. Tonight we have with us a very special guest, the representative of District 2, Grand Jide County, Dr. George S. Boley, in studio tonight. Now, Dr. Boley, what have you done for the people of District 2, Grand Jide County? Let's start with roads. Tell us the status of the road from Zwertu to Zia Town.
Thank you. Oh, I told you why I'm running for the Senate. I told you the role I have played in Liberia since the last several years. Grand Jide is my home. Kunemo is my home. Um, what have I done in Kunemo District since I became representative 26 months ago, actually 2.5 years ago? Bringing experience to the legislature, having worked most of my government life in the executive branch, I was able, with the experience from previous government positions in the legislature, to make sure that I lobbied and got funding to do the road network. First of all, the function of the legislature, making laws, oversight, and representation. Those three functions are the responsibility of a lawmaker, at least in our system. What have I done? And within the first 6 months of taking seat as a representative for Kunemo District, I was able to lobby and use my experience in raising money to do the road from Zwedru to Zia. That project had never been done in 12 years, and it's ongoing. It's nearing completion. What have I done for Kunemo District? I was able to lobby and do what a good representative would do to make sure that our people are connected with communications. So we arranged to get a couple of GSM stations, the cell phones we use. Erected a cell phone tower in Boundary, that's in Kunemo proper. We got one, the MTN got one in Jaudi, Putu Jaudi, places where there have been no communications since time immemorial. What have I done? We made sure that we arranged, but from Italy, a radio station for the district of Kunemo. Process the paperwork, waiting for the radio station to be installed. That's never happened in Kunemo district. What have I done in Kunemo district? We made sure that issues relative to the mining sector were red flags, because Kunemo is one of the wealthiest districts in the Republic of Liberia when it comes to gold mining. We raised red flags that have now made this issue a national issue. That was the first thing I did in the national legislature in this country. I literally led the legislature by showing PowerPoint what damage was being done to our natural resources. That issue claimed the Minister of Land, Mines, and Energy, including the President of this republic. In education, what have I done? As an academician, I co-sponsored 2 bills for education in this country. One had to do with the Stella Maria University, which is a Catholic university in Liberia. Two, I co-sponsor an education bill for the Monrovia Vocational Training Center, MVTC, in Monrovia. Now, granted, you might say, well, these schools are in Monrovia. A lawmaker doesn't make laws only for Kunemo. When you make laws, they're for the country. Liberians are benefiting from these bills that I co-sponsor. The other lawmakers have been in there for eternity, but haven't done such thing. So why do I want to become a senator? I believe that at the Senate level, it's no longer the district, because the district's problems are not different from the county's problem. And I can bring relief and redress to the issues affecting Grand Jide County. Now, what have I done for Grand Jide? I taught at a community college voluntarily for 2 years. I designed the career. I was the chair for the curriculum of the college, Grand Jide Community College. And that curriculum now has been accepted by the University of Liberia so that students from Grand Jide Community College can matriculate to the University of Liberia. So, Rogali and those of our people in the diaspora, I could go on and on. In just the 2 years and 6 months, these are just examples of some of the things I've done. What have I done for students from Grand Jide County and particularly from Kunemo District? I support education. I'm on the House Committee on Education. Education is what made me. Okay? I take the initiative to sponsor students at my own expense, both at the University of Liberia, private institutions, and the Grand Jide County Community College. And I pay their tuition. I don't owe the college a dime, unlike others who owe the college hundreds of thousands of dollars, Liberian dollars. So I put my money where my mouth is. And these issues I just mentioned are not peculiar to Kunemo. They're Liberia's problem. Road connectivity, health issues, education. There's something called the County Development Agenda developed by the government and what we call our partners, the supporting partners. They have identified these as the problems in almost all of Liberia. No roads. Health facilities are bad, are not good. Education is a problem. And so I have addressed these issues in ways that reflect my personal values and belief. The Ziatown Clinic, we uplifted that clinic, lobbied with the Minister of Health, and that clinic now has been elevated. Supply logistics and personnel, uplifting it, making sure that our mothers and sisters and people who need health facilities do not have to travel to Zwedru on motorbikes to get treatment. So the road is there now. If a pregnant woman needs to go to Zwedru, she doesn't have to ride a bike. She can get taken to Zwedru in a car. These are my accomplishments in 2 years and 6 months as a representative for the district.
I don't know if I heard you talk about some of the bills you sponsored within your presence at the lower house for the last 2.5 years. Could you please explain?
Yes, sir.
Could you please explain to us?
Yes, sir. I co-sponsored 2 bills. One of them is for the creation of Stella Maria University, which is a Catholic institution. Used to be called Stella Maria College or Polytechnic. And that bill was co-sponsored with Mike Jury of Maryland County. Okay. Then the Monrovia Vocational Technical Center in Monrovia, MVTC. That bill was co-sponsored by me in conjunction with Lieutenant Colonel Jimmy Smith, representative of District Number 2, Maxwell County. These institutions are attended by Liberians, including Grandians.
Now, Dr. Boley, are you a member or an affiliate of any political party?
Yes, I am.
Mm-hmm.
I am a member of the United People's Party, UPP. And I ran on the UPP platform 2017. I am an elected representative for the United People's Party.
And which candidate or candidates for the Senate are you supporting?
I'm supporting George Boley. George Boley is a candidate for the Senate, and George Boley is running to become senator for Grand Juda County.
Now, you have one of the current representatives who many perceive as the godfather of politics in Grand Juda. He's on the ballot as though running against you. What are your chances?
Pardon? Mr. Gale?
Yes, sir.
I don't know what you call godfather of Grand Juda County. I just told you that a few years ago there was no Grand Juda County. When our people were in exile, I was in the place called Grand Juda County. In fact, let me just briefly give you the scenario. The Grand Juda County that you know and I know, it's a name. It's a name of yesteryears. It's a name of 1964. The Grand Juda County of 2000 March is a new Grand Juda County. I know the history of Grand Juda County. There were 5 districts. Webo and Wepo district became River G as of March 2000. What is left of the 3 districts now, the original 5 districts of Grand Juda, is just 3 districts. And Grand Juda is the only county in Liberia that is exclusively peopled by an ethnic group in Liberia called Crown. I repeat, the Grand Juda of 2000 is the only county in this country that is peopled by a single ethnic group. All in other countries, Nema, they got Crown, they got Gio, they got Manon. You go to Bong, you go to Lofa, Pele, Gisi, Bandi. So the Grand Juda we're talking about today is a different Grand Juda in so many ways that only one who knows the history and one who stood to make it what it is today can tell the story. So I don't know who's godfather of Grand Juda, but I'm running for the Senate. And the people of Grand Juda will decide which of us, of all the people from the county today that say they're running, which of us is best fit, best prepared to represent the new Grand Juda that we have as of 2000 March.
Now, Dr. Boley, how do you rate the performance of the government of Liberia? Use a letter grade.
That's an interesting question. How do I rate the performance of the government? I'm not sure that using a letter grade will it's a fair assessment, and so I will refrain from that engagement.
Okay. Let's rate the government of Liberia separately.
Good.
Legislature.
Okay. The legislature is the first branch of government, and the legislature actually are the people's deputies. Our system, each of us is represented by constituents, and so given my experience and my educational training and background, I was elected by people, and so others who may have come from different backgrounds, they also were elected by constituents. And so when you look at what we have in the legislature, again, the legislature is a microcosm of the larger society. How do I grade it? It's just as good as the people of Liberia that they represent.
Now, what do you make of the people in Liberia who say our problem is not with the executive, it is with the legislature because they are the ones who are clawed with the authority to bring the executive to attention. And others say the legislature accept brown envelopes on in some instances. How do you respond to that?
Well, I I'm not about to pass judgment on people's opinions. There are some of us in the legislature who have integrity and principle, and we do not accept brown envelopes. I do not accept brown envelopes, and I don't subscribe to that idea. And these are allegations made in some way to sort of demean what the legislature represents. But let me assure you that this representative for Kunawa District is a matter of principle, and all of my colleagues in the House and in the Senate respect me for that. I am not in the business of, raising unnecessary issues. I'm very conscious of what I do and what I say. And my performance in plenary, which is the highest decision-making body, speaks for itself.
Now, let us move to the second branch, the judiciary. What do you make of this? A lot of people complain that when you go to the court, as long as you don't have a deeper pocket, you are on your own. There will be no justice for you.
Well, Liberia is not peculiar in this respect. I was watching the show the other day with Governor Cuomo of New York, where he says the Justice Department of the United States is rich with injustice. So people have this perception that our court system is, you have to have a deeper pocket to make it through the court system. The system is what we have, Mr. Gale, and people have to make it work. Sitting down and blaming the system for what it is, the system is as good as the people in the system. Seriously. Look, take our own county, Grand County. 2012, and I'll be very brief, we had a county sitting. In our county, there was some $3.1 million at stake for county development. I was not in government 2012, but I went to Grand as a citizen of Grand. When I saw what was going on was not what should be, I took the superintendent to court. In the 7 judicials, I sued him. And as a result of what I did, there were people who castigated me. Oh, you never sue superintendent? You never do that? Honorable Peter Solo, ask him. But because of that action, and I'm not saying I do everything properly, correctly, but people have to be willing to stand up for what they believe. Too many of our people are spineless, and until we can put some bones in our spines and stand for what we believe and willing to pay whatever the price is, we will be just what we are. People castigated me, but at the end, eventually, Grand Justice secured some earth-moving equipment for our roads. There are people who actually thought I was crazy. So our court system is as good as we are. How many people are willing to stand up to take the system to task? You got to make a sacrifice. Until we prepare to do that, we will live with what we have.
Well, you briefly touched on the legislature, the judiciary. Now let us come to the executive.
We've always had an imperial presidency here. And that's what some of us have been fighting since since we knew how to talk. We went from True Party to the multi-party system we have today. That did not come cheap. People pay with their blood for that to happen. Do we understand what multi-party democracies are? We're learning. We say our democracy is new, is fragile. So we play with it. We have an imperial presidency, and we have to learn to have oversight over the executive, which is the responsibility of the legislature. And some of us don't take that responsibility lightly. It may make us unpopular, but that's the job that we have to do, and we are executing that job. Executive might not find us to be, executive friendly, but my job as a representative is not to be a friend of the executive. Now, in the House, it's a number game. Numbers matter. So if the executive can convince more than those who believe what Boley believes, that gets carried. And people are still learning that they have oversight and they have to exercise it.
Now, folks, if you're just joining us, we have with us Dr. George S. Boley, Representative District 2, Grand Judy County. At the top of the hour, we're going to open up the telephone lines so that if you have questions or concerns, Dr. Boley is well seated to answer your questions. Okay, Dr. Boley, is there anything you don't like about this government you wish to point out or anything worthy?
Well, I don't have a dislike. What I'd like to see this government do is to consult more often. Consult people who have some experience, people who have something of substance to offer. Once we can consult and respect each other's views, I believe that we will find common ground. So that's one of the things that is of concern to me. Otherwise, I make sure that whatever I believe is pursued with respect to, things should be done. The committees I work on, my views are expressed in very, very clear terms. There's no ambiguity in what I say or do.
Okay. Now, what is your take on the recent incident in Zwerdo involving one of your colleagues, Representative Yeke Koluba?
Well, let me be very frank. What happened in Grand Judy County was disgraceful, was shameful, was was done by criminally minded people, and it should be condemned. And it is. And I personally condemn it in the strongest possible terms. Yeke Koluba does not need, no Liberian needs permission or visa to travel to any part of this country. He has a right to be in Grand Judy at the time he was there. And those hooligans who perpetrated a crime against him and others should be prosecuted under the laws.
How well you know this superintendent? Because it is alleged that he, in fact, following the attacks, asked both Yeke Koluba and the political leader of the Alternative National Congress and the chair of the 4 collaborating political parties to leave. And he went further to say the people do not want you here. And like you rightly said, this country belongs to all of us. That when you leave from Grand Jita and come to Montserrat to work, nobody bothers you. And I listened to a young lady who said she felt like she was a foreigner for the first time. Okay, her both parents met in Grand Jita, and she was conceived in Grand Jita. And to see what happened in her presence, it's just unbelievable. Dr. Boley?
Mr. Garland, this issue is a serious embarrassment. And as a representative for my district and for the county and for this country, I believe that the president of Liberia now must prove that he does not subscribe to this, that he is in no way a party to this very, very unbecoming conduct by people who claim to be members of his party, by doing the right thing for the people of Liberia and the people of Grand Jita County. Now, let me give you the fact as I know them. The stoning of these people did not start before the superintendent went and asked these people to leave the county, which was actually not his business. Grand Jita County belongs to everybody. Our superintendent had no business going to ask these people to leave the county. In fact, it is my information that this whole thing was contrived and predetermined. And that's not what governance is about. It was after the superintendent asked these people to leave, and they said that they wouldn't leave under those circumstances. And the superintendent retreated to his building, which is directly opposite where this incident occurred, that is stone throwing began, destroying properties. What is even bad about it is that the man whose property was destroyed is an Ethiopian. He came to this country with unmail, was in quadrant 4 in Grand Jita. As a peacekeeper, went to Ethiopia when his tenure ended, came back to Liberia, went to Grand Jita and established a business. And you're going to destroy that over something that should not have happened? That's a disgrace. No one should sanction that. We are now waiting to see what the president does. Okay? We're waiting to see what the president does. The ball is in his court. This is his vicegerent. That's all I have to say. It's wrong.
The president also came out and condemned the situation. As a matter of fact, I'm told the superintendent was sent for.
Look, yes, the superintendent was sent for. Well, this is why I say we are waiting to see how the investigation turns out. It is alleged that seditions orchestrated this, including the superintendent. Okay? Now, why did they do this? The information is that Yeke Koliba is known for using invectives against the president. But Yeke Koliba is known for using invectives everywhere. Yeke Koliba went to Plibo. I'm in the House of Representatives. Yeah. Yeke is quote unquote my colleague. He comes to session. When he does, okay, he uses invectives on the speaker. Yeke Koliba went to Plibo, and Plibo was shut down for 3 days. Nobody in Plibo cussed him. Nobody asked him to leave Plibo Sorekin district. Why does he have to be Grand Jita? Are we so gullible that we allow ourselves to be used? Okay. So it's uncalled for. Okay. I'm just very disgusted. And I say we're looking up to the president. He commissioned the investigation. If he doesn't do anything, investors will not only to Grand Jita, but we will see what investors will come to Liberia when anybody can get up and start throwing stones because you see something that somebody doesn't like.
Dr. Boley, how big are you on unity. How big are you on reconciliation? The country is divided. People are angry. How do we reconcile this country?
Reconciliation is a two-way street. People who seek reconciliation must be willing to truly reconcile. Those who are charged with the responsibility of uniting the country, or at least, take on their own or give the impression that this is the exclusive preserve, should be willing to seek counsel. I don't see that happening much in this country now.
Hmm.
Seek counsel. You don't have to like me, but I certainly have some ideas that can bring this country together. Everyone has a following. You do. I do. Everyone does. Let's sit down and have a conversation. Until we begin to do that, it's not likely that reconciliation will come on a silver platter.
What do you make of the TRC? A lot of Liberians are calling for the War Crimes Court or the Economic Crimes Court. They want to see justice finally prevail. How do you respond?
I think it's a good thing. The sooner the Economic Crimes Court or the War Crimes Court can come to Liberia, I think the better it will be for all of us.
And what do you make of the TRC?
Well, I have my own issues with the TRC. The TRC was intended to reconcile the country. The TRC missed the opportunity by becoming divisive. Members of the TRC were people who were used in certain ways. The report itself, I know people outside Liberia don't know what happened in this country with the TRC report, but the TRC report is a disgrace. I repeat, the TRC report is a disgrace, discredited by the same people who were brought here to supervise it, because our people, those who were on the commission, some of them, the chairman or whatever his name is, okay, Jerome Verdia, Massa Washington, and John Stewart, those three damaged this country in terms of what they did with the TRC report. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, if you just joining us, it's time to go to the telephone line. The number to call is 248 979 1718. That's 248 979 1718. Questions for Dr. Boley. You can now begin calling. And of course, Dr. Boley is here ready to answer your questions. And speaking of answering your questions, we want to go to the line now. We have Mr. Lofa Julius. Lofa Julius is on the line from North Carolina. Hello, Lofa.
Hey, Brother Ashford. I just my
Hold on a minute. Okay, go ahead, Lofa.
okay. Thank you. I was just my question to Mr. Boley is he made a comment that the system is just as good as those in the system that includes him. And looking at the current situation in our country, where the rate of rape in our country and injustice towards people, corruption is at the highest. So is Mr. Boley consenting that he is as corrupt as the system, because he's telling us the system is just as good as those who occupy the position that he and other people occupy in.
Oh man. Oh we
Hello.
Lofa, could you please call back? I'm sorry, the phone mistakenly went off. Please call back, Lofa. We'll take you. But in the meantime, we have the lines are busy tonight. I can tell you that. Hold on. Hold on 1 minute. Dr. Boley, I want you to please get a notepad because I would
Yes.
I would take these questions in sequence, and then you can.
Hello.
You can
Hello.
hold on. We have 6494 from Philadelphia. Tell us your name.
Hello?
Yeah, 6494. Is that the last four digits of the number?
Hello.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 minute. If you have 64, I'm looking for 6494.
Hello.
Is this 6494? The last four digits
Yeah,
of the
this
number?
is 6494.
Okay, please tell us your name.
My name is Gonlava Dolo. I'm calling from the state of Delaware to be specific. It's the Newcastle.
Okay, you have 2 minutes, please. Go ahead. Ask the question.
Thank you, Mr. Gale, and thank you to Dr. Boley in studio. I really don't have a question, but I want to commend Dr. Boley for his expose this evening. He spoke like a patriot, and he stands for Liberia, not Grand Julia County. Everything he has said, I'm in full support of him. But here's my question to you, Dr. Boley. Just in case the board of inquiry that they are set up for the incident that happened in Grand Julia County, just in case the president do not take stand, those who are on the committee on internal affairs in the House, what action will you take in your capacity as representative of Republic of Liberia, not only Grand Julia County? Thank you, Ashra.
Thank you. Okay, we have 5234. Please tell us your name. 763 is the area code.
Hello?
5234. Is that your number?
Yes,
Okay, tell us your name, please.
thank you.
Go ahead and ask your question, please. You have 2 minutes.
Oh, I just wanted to just greet the Mr. Boley. I just wanted to greet him. I'm watching the show, and I just wanted to greet him. My name is Patrick Kuman.
Okay, Patrick, thank you. Okay, we have 5773. Please tell us your name.
Hey, Ashford, this is the Unbreakables too.
Hey, welcome
Yeah,
to the
my
show.
question for Dr. Boley. Dr. Boley stated that Yeke Koluba, I mean, he's a representative for Grand Julia County, and his colleagues is in the habit of insulting. You as a representative, and you know, as you are a lawmaker, and somebody who is a lawmaker insulting the president of the of Liberia, insulting him, insulting his mother. It is representing your department, or it is representing the people of Liberia for Yeke to be in a constant habit of insulting. And after Yeke called the citizens of Grand Julia County, criticize him for those statements. And also, did you criticize Yeke for insulting the president? As you stated, he said he insulted the speaker also too. So it is something that you guys condone. I want you to tell the Liberian people about the bullet.
Thank you. Okay, we have 7327. Please tell us your name.
Hi, Ashogale. This is Celia Ajivon.
Celia, how you doing? Welcome to the
Mr.
show.
Boley. Thank you, Mr. Boley. I hope you remember this name. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Ajivon. Cedric Francis Ajivon. Annie Swami Ajivon lives in Bangabong County. 1994 September was killed and beheaded by LPC. I see you sitting there and saying you have no regrets. Annie Ajivon has 5 children and 2 grandkids. She was beheaded. Her husband, my dad, was fired 17 times in his chest. My oldest brother was made to eat sand. My little sister, who is in Molota, was raped over and over and over. Up to now, right as we speak now, she's in a mental home in Monrovia. You are saying you have no regrets. What I have said right now, do you say don't have regrets?
Thank you.
That is my question. And
Thank you, Ms. Achivon. We also have a brother from North Carolina, I believe. Freeman, is that the name?
It's Francis.
Francis, yeah, go ahead. Ask your question. You have 2 minutes.
Yes. My question to Mr. Boley. Good evening, Mr. Boley. Good morning from your end. And
Good
my
evening.
name is Francis.
Good evening, Francis.
My question to you is, do you support the war and economic crime court? If yes, why is it that your name is now, or your signature is now on the list of people that wanted the war crime court to come to Liberia? Why your name was not there or your signature? Thank you.
Okay, we'll take one more caller and then we'll go back to Dr. Boley. Jabba Reeves, welcome to the show. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hello?
Jabba Reeves, go ahead and ask your
Yes.
question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Bode, for your time. And thank you, Mr. Gotti. My name is Japari. I'm calling from Georgia. You know, one of the main problems for me we have in Liberia is reconciliation. And some of you guys that have been around, and now for me, I have not been able to pick a side of who is good and who is wrong until we can have a process to establish that. And I wish some of you guys that are confident enough of your side, claiming the side you took and what you did, you're confident in it enough. I wish some of you guys could give the process an opportunity or speak to it so that it can establish. But however, my question is, what are we doing, especially the old players, in terms of reconciliation? Because I know politics come and now sometimes things get exaggerated, but the issues of reconciliation have been the burning problem for Liberia in the vanguard of everything, especially when it comes to political decision making. So what are we doing for reconciliation, especially the old players?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and again, Lofa was on and he mistakenly got off. Lofa, you're back on. Go ahead, ask your question.
Again, thank you, brother Astro, for calling back. My question again, I repeat to Mr. Boley. He made a statement that the system is just as bad as those who are occupying or filling in some of the roads. And that's what I'm just to clarify here or verify that he's consenting that as corrupt as the system is, a country that has or cannot provide security for her people, he's consenting that they are just as corrupt as the system as we see it from the diaspora and even in our own country where justice does not prevail for anyone. The system is corrupt. They get paid thousands of dollars while our innocent people die from curable diseases. But he's here saying the system is just as bad as those that are occupying the positions like what he's occupying today. So if he could just speak to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, we're going to stop here now for the call-ins, and we'll go back to Dr. Boley so that he can give us some responses, and then we'll go back to more callers, okay? Dr. Boley, back to you.
Thank you. Let me begin with the last question. I made notes, and I'd like to respond to everyone who's asked or made a comment. First of all, there are people in Liberia that are principled. Okay? The question about whether I am part and parcel of the corrupt element, the answer is no. Since day one, I've always been principled. I never joined any group. I'm not a follower. I make sure that when I take a position, it's a matter of principle. Of all the positions I've held in this country, the last caller, on all the audits report that were done, no one will accuse George Boley of misappropriating $1 in each of the ministries. That's my principle from Tobo days until now. Okay? Even when my life was at stake, I believe in what I believed in. Okay? So if you have people who will believe in themselves and not worry about, I will lose my job. If I don't stand for principle, I will lose my job. You'll do anything. And those are people who fall for anything. It's not all of us. Those are the people who vote. Those are the people who elect you. Even though they elect us, some of us are principled. Let me make that very clear. So we have to stand together to change the system. When a police officer stops you in the street, why are you why are you bribing him to let you go? Why don't you pay your taxes? Why not? You in America, you pay your taxes, don't you? You in Liberia, how many people pay their taxes here? Look at the rules. We can't be a country of beggars. Check them in. Even when I had all the issues, my taxes are paid up to date. That's me. I'm not saying I'm an angel or I'm sent, but maybe we need a few people who are committed to doing the right thing. That's what I'm saying. People must be strengthened. Don't worry about your job. Do the right thing. Until we do that, we got enough people in this country to do that, we will be where we are. That's what I mean. Why bribe the judge when you go to court? Why? Why bribe the sheriff to serve a warrant? Yeah, man. So that's it. That's what I meant. I don't mean that all of us in the system are corrupt. There's some of us who believe in what we believe in. Okay? How many people are willing to do what we've done? I was an assistant minister in Mr. Tower's government. Okay? When the Progressive Alliance was in Liberia, I associated with that organization. The thing was your job or your association. I chose the association to work with the job. Okay? In the end, I landed in prison. Now, I'm not saying I'm, straight and whatnot, but I believe in what I believe in. Never mind the job. If you get 200,000 Liberians today who will say, to help with the job, I'll do the right thing, this country will be straight. Okay? That's what I mean, sir. Now all of us are corrupt, though. Check my record. The next question from the lady, Mrs. Achivon, Banga, September, you say LPC massacre your family. Well, look, that's why you say, I don't know that. But let me tell you the group of people that went to Banga and the reason for going to Banga. The whole country was held hostage by the NPFL. Okay? There were two Liberias. You remember? Greater Liberia and Monrovia? Okay? Greater Liberia and Monrovia. And the ECOMOG had been on the ground by then by 4 years. Nothing was happening. You had the Ulimoje. Those people, we call them the coalition forces that cooperated with ECOMOG, including the LPC. So I don't know whether you were standing when they did all these things to your family to say LPC did them, or I said, and I repeat, my participation in bringing about peace, I have no regrets about. Oh, I mean, you always feel bad when people die. By the way, I want you to know, and others listening to know, the first person who was killed when the NPFL landed, okay, was a man called David Boley. That's my father. Okay? So we don't want to go into that. Everybody got regrets. And I was in Nima. The very first landed, he was the interpreter to the commissioner in Butuo. Is anybody apologizing for that? Let me move to the next question from the gentleman who talked about rape.
But just before you move on, Dr. Boley, now because your father David Boley was killed, are you suggesting that
no?
I mean, this lady is?
I'm not saying that's why we went into the war. I'm not going to go into that argument. I'm saying that everybody lost somebody. Okay. We all lost people in this war. War is not it's not a picnic. People die in war. Okay. And for this lady, Ms. Achivon, to say that LPC specifically, did people have on uniforms? Did they have IDs? Okay. I mean, so people make all kind of allegations. Look, the LPC was branded as a crime group, and even here, international people say a crime organization. That's nothing could be farther from the truth. Francois Massacre from Lofa, the Lofa Defense Force, he's now a crime. The late Tom Warrior from Bassa, he was the NPF LCRC. He's not crime. Okay? I can go on and name those people who formed the coalition forces. It was not just LPC. So these biases that we have of specific institutions must be laid to rest. As far as bringing the peace to Liberia, I have no regrets. That people die in the process is regrettable. Now, can I move on to the next question?
Go ahead, move on.
Okay. The issue of insulting the president. My good friend who asked this question, no one condones any act of disrespect. Okay? No one condones any act of disrespect. Okay? But remember that Yeka Koliba is an elected official. We have rules that govern this type of behavior until we in the House, okay, and it has to be voted. 2/3 of the House can expel Yeka Koliba. Can you get 2/3 of the people in the House to vote to expel him? We haven't succeeded so far. So it's not that we all condone that, but we operate by rules. So Yeka Koliba insults the president. Is that a reason for people to behave the way they behave in Grand Jide County? I think not. And I think it's wrong. And the president, Yeka Koliba, he has recourse. The president has recourse. Okay? And it's not about denigrating the presidency. Nobody wants the presidency to be denigrated. I was former president of this country on the Council of State. Call it collective presidency, 60-man presidency. So I know what, and those were the critical days in the history of this country. Do people call me all kinds of names? Yes, the people who call me warlords, they call me all kinds of names. So what do? You have a right. You have issue with me, bring it up. Let's discuss it. So I want to move on with the insult. And a gentleman asked a question about rape. Nobody in this country that I know, or at least other than the perpetrator, rape is unacceptable. It's domestic violence. It's just criminal, and it's condemned. Again, perhaps the executive and the judiciary that makes this decision to be implemented by the executive should take a stand. And we encourage them to do that. We condemn rape in all its form. Okay? So no one condones that. We have spoken out about it. And as I said, some of us, we don't have radio show every day, but our views are respected. We do not condone rape or crime of any nature perpetrated by anyone that would demean this country and its citizens. I believe the next question. Yeah, that's. I think those were the questions that were asked. Basically, or one guy asked two questions. The one about corruption, and I challenged him to check the record from October 22nd, 1978 to see if there's any act of corruption that I have been involved in, or if he has any evidence that during the war you call me warlord if I ever ship one twig from this country or looted this country. Okay? Bring your economic crime code and we'll be able to deal with that. Okay. Thank you.
Dr. Boley is in for the World and Economic Crimes Court, and he's in on it. He wants it to come as soon as possible. He's willing. And again, folks, we want to go back to the telephone line. If you're just joining us, this is Ashford Garley live on British Radio Africa. This program is aired weekdays from 8 p.m. Eastern Time to 10 p.m. in Liberia, 12 midnight. We have 5787. Tell us your name, please.
My name is Harris Gunson, and I want to actually make comment on Mr. Boley's statement about his father being killed in Mutu. Boley, who he's talking about, was killed in Mutu, was an interpreter with the commissioner, and my father was a clerk. I grew up with him in Mutu. He was married to a Gio woman who was Omanyan Glineame, who was also my mother's best friend.
Mr. Boley was not killed by NPFL. And he knows it. Mr. Boley was killed by Zulu troop that came in Butu. Okay? Mr. Boley, when NPFL hit Butu, Mr. Boley was escorted to the town chief, who was Mr. Sue house. And they told the NPFL people never to tamper with him because he married from Butu to a girl lady who was Nyanglu Mame. All his children stay in Butu as we talk. I mean, as we speak right now. George Boley, Sade Boley, and all the boys, they are staying in Butu. Okay? And Mr. Boley coming up, a little alleged that LPC massacre her family, and he talking about, because of his father was killed in Butu, so people should apologize for it. Who killed his father in Butu? It was Charles Zulu and his true money enter Butu. They said if Mr. Boley was not supporting NPFL and he from the current track, why the Gio people spare him? Which means he was supporting NPFL. That's how they killed he and his wife. The Gio lady that was from Butu, from the Nambas family, they killed the Indian. I can remember, I was very little. When we returned to Butu, that old man Bale and his wife, both of them, Bale was still in Butu. It was the citizen of Butu that buried him. So you cannot stand on that and talk about, yes, because of your people were killed and someone is alleging that her entire family was massacred. You can't even be sympathetic as a human being.
Thank you, sir.
I'm very disappointed in him. Thank you so much.
Okay. We also have 8361. Please tell us your name.
Hi, my name is CZ Goya. I'm calling from Minnesota.
Welcome to the show. You're live on the radio.
I appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much, Dr. Boley, for coming on. I guess you kind of anticipated this was going to be a hot space. So I appreciate you as a public servant for coming on, knowing exactly the kind of conversation you're going to have. I want to focus on something different. I follow your work as an educator and being in the house. I really want to talk about education in Liberia. Given that the average age of the Liberian population is very youthful, what are you doing, Dr. Boley, as an astute educator, to ensure that we decentralize education and overhaul the educational system so that people don't have to come to Monrovia to have quality and affordable education? And what are we doing to make sure that we have LU campuses, at least in each of the capitals in the subdivision? The next piece is, are you considering creating a licensing program for teachers in Liberia so that we can be able to weed out those predatory teachers that are in the field for sex for grades or money for grades, and also try to pay more money to teachers so that we can try to make sure we are able to get out people who just get into the business of education to be predatory.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, we have 9634. Please tell us your name.
Yeah, hello. This is Ben. This is Ben calling from Minnesota.
Welcome to the show. You're live on the radio.
Yeah, thank you. So I know Mr. Boley said that PC did not have uniform, so therefore he's not showing in the person who killed that lady. Family was from PC. That's a shame. But let's move forward. Mr. Boley said that he criticized the issue that happened to Yeke Kolova. If Mr. Boley can condemn that issue, how is it he is not able to show any remorse for what happened to our people that was killed in Liberia? We suppose he was one of those founding members. And so how can he be against those Nigerians who went against Yeke Kolova, but yet still he has no remorse for being a part of the Civil War? Now, my last question here is that, can he justify $5,000 to be paid to representative who goes to work for only 2 days in a week? Can he justify that? Thank you very much.
Thank you. 9459. Please tell us your name. 9459. Please tell us your name. 9459.
Morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Is it 9459? Tell us your name and where do you join us from
Yeah,
tonight?
please. I'm calling from Australia. Good morning.
Welcome to the show, my brother.
Yeah. Yeah. First of all, I must commend the doctor, Dr. Boley, my former United People Party brother, but not because of where we were little boy and you guys and Baco Matthew were the big boys. I commend you because for condemning the act in Grand Gideon. You know, we went through a lot of war, a lot of things. Look, I commend you because, look, Araco does not want to take Liberian refugees, neither Ghana, neither Sierra Leone. And the guy will attack you by telling you why you didn't condemn or Yaka. Let him name one single county. I repeat, one single county in the Republic of Liberia for the past 12 years. CDC was in power. Whether they went to campaign there and they attacked them. He said that they all what I'm telling on the international wire here, them are not a human being. There's no isolated incident where CDC were attacked, where they go campaign in Nimba, in Basso, in Grand Gideon, in Lofa, and people there go attack them, the opponent. You understand? I commend you. People like you, Dr. Boley, will have people like you, Liberia are going to move forward because the Bible says there is a season for every people. The walking, and you see, look, Uganda, they are bailing their country. They are not attacking each other again. They get opposition there. In South Africa, the other guy said that they abuse. Where were he when Moluba Molu and Akara Grade and how Ellen Johnson Red Claw with painting, masquerading the street? They condemn them. Look, we need to stay in Liberia is our country. We are just 5 million population. We need to let our country. Anybody do wrong, I'm a bastard man here, right? If any bastard man do wrong, stand up. So look, my mother, my daddy, what you did, you are absolutely wrong.
Thank you.
But he saw the thing white. They put into Grand Gideon. They were in a hotel coming, and these people, they haven't even gotten on the street. And they put whole thousands of people surrounded, barricaded the people. Then why you want to just say, look, Dr. Boley, you made my day from Australia. I don't want to waste your time here. God bless you. Look, all what happened from war in our country, let bygone be bygone. But they won't. If I was in that place, I would go country and vote for you as a senator because you are your objectivity due today. Look, it made my whole body. I'm so happy. Thank you, sir.
Okay, the last caller before we go back to Dr. Boley. 6619. Please tell us your name.
Hey, as for how are you? This is Jay Victor Number. I'm calling from Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Welcome to the show. You live on the radio.
Hey, Dr. Boley, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
All right, let me begin by thanking you, just like the previous speaker, for your bold step in coming on to talk to us over here. Very few of your colleagues take the time to do that, so I must commend you for that. I also have to commend you for coming out to condemn the act. Whoever perpetrated this act against the opposition leaders in Grand Gideon County, I think it should be roundly condemned by all well-meaning Liberians, and I must commend you for doing that. Now, I have a little problem with the way you answer some of the questions, specifically the sister, the adjuvant lady. I know we are all humans, and sometimes our emotions get the best of us. But I would have expected a little more empathy with her situation. I think you were very callous with the way you answered her question. To say that war is not a picnic, I think that was very dismissive. And now I understand that you also lost relatives. I believe everyone in Liberia lost relatives one way or the other. But in your capacity as a leader, I expected a little bit more empathy with the system. Now, I also must congratulate you. I come from UPP, if I must let you know that. I was one time chairman of PACO here in the USA. And so I heard you trace your background from the Progressive Alliance of Liberia, PL, up to now. You are the single representative of UPP now in the House.
That is correct.
Congratulate you. Now, as a one-time Minister of Education of the Republic of Liberia, my colleague who called from Minnesota, he is also in education. I am in education. We are all very concerned with the standard of education right now in Liberia. And we know there is a lot that has to be done to bring our system up to standard. Now, the already bad situation is now being compounded. That is now rendering almost every institution the option to go virtual. And we are wondering as to where this is going to leave Liberia. Internet connectivity is a problem. If our students are forced to stay home and attend school virtually, as a one-time Minister of Education, do you have any plan, any proposal to bring to the table to help the situation in Liberia and help our suffering young fellows catch up with the rest of the world? Thank you again for coming on. Thank you, Astro.
Thank you. We want to go to Canada. We have the last four digits is 7668. Tell us your name, please.
My name is Emmanuel Chavez there, Ashford. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. And I would like to thank Mr. Boley for coming on. I think he did extremely well coming on, knowing the fact that we were going to talking about a civil war. I want to speak to Liberians, especially watching Dr. Boley defend his crimes. The crimes of LPC has been documented by the TRC. If you look through the TRC report, you see exactly what the LPC did. Now, every warlord will speak to the issue of how there was a serious problem in Liberia, so they came to solve the problem. Everybody put the war on Charles Taylor. Charles Taylor is in prison. Every one of them did their own thing. I spoke to Celia Archibald on my show, and that was about a year ago when she said that LPC killed her family. So I listened to the story. I'm very disappointed to see George Boley speaking to Liberians and telling us that he got no regret. Standing and talking right now, I lost my 4 brothers and a sister in the war. So to be listening to one of the warlords saying that he got no regret is very unfortunate. However, I would like to make this point to those who are listening, because all of you decided to do nothing. That's why George Boley is speaking to us the way he is speaking to us today. I'm telling you, Liberians, especially you in the diaspora, you have made presidents, senators. You've done everything you can do in Liberia. The only thing that you refuse to do is to fight for war and economic crime school. That's Boley spitting in our faces that he's done no wrong. And I am just not disappointed in George Boley himself, but also in Liberians. Mr. Gali, I would like to ask a question, but I will not, because I understand I won't get the answer that I want. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be on your show. Thank you.
That's the voice of Emmanuel Chavez. Moses, allies, Steve Boley is on the line. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Gali. I want to say hi to Dr. Boley. My name is Steve Boley, and I call from Phoenix.
I want you to please speak through the microphone, Steve.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, yes. Go ahead.
As I said, my name is Steve Boley, and I call from Phoenix, Arizona. I want to say hi to Dr. Boley. I have 2 questions for Dr. Boley. I've listened to him justify himself, justify what happened without showing any remorse. My question to him is he came into politics when he was very young. What is his plan for the young people of Grenada, considering, regardless of what he says or what he justifies, he participated in the war fully? And so what is this plan for the young people in Grenada to give them hope or to enable them for the future? And also, my last question is, what is this plan for women? Because I heard him speak when Ms. Ajivon spoke, and I would say that was very disheartening that he showed no remorse. And I would say out here very clear that, regardless, we should be empathetic. He showed no empathy at all. And I think that's something that I would recommend that maybe he shows it now before the show is over. But what is this plan for women and children, especially with all this rape issue going on, violation of women and abuse? What is his plan for women and children? Thank you so much.
Okay. Going to Indiana, the last caller before we go back to Dr. Boley. Hello, tell us your name.
Hello, this is Alvin Peno. I'm calling from Indiana.
Welcome to the show, Alvin. You live on the radio.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Pape. How the body?
Good evening. I'm doing fine. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for your service to Liberia, and thank you for your service to Grand Jide. I understand that we have gone through the ordeal as Liberians, and we all don't like the indelible history that have left an imprint. You being a role model to some, and you being a great leader to Liberia as a whole, what would be your word of encouragement to the generation to avoid all that happened? Because in one of your statements, you said we were misled and we are growing, and some of us have some massive connection, even more than those that were before us. And we don't want to have a chaotic scene when we get involved. So what is your word of encouragement in order for us not to take the path that led to such disgruntled history that we all have? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Boley, the floor is all yours. We'll need some responses before we go back to the line again.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks to all of those that commented and asked questions. I'm going to try to respond honestly, forthrightly, as best I can. Let me begin with the last column. And what advice do I have for the young generation? First and foremost, my advice would be go to school, learn something, get an education. And once you have the capacity to discern and to analyze, you will not be used by anybody. You have the capacity to think. And that ability to think can do a lot for you personally, for your family, and for the country, and your community and the country. That's my advice to all the young people, and that's why I am in Grand Jide County. I try to encourage young people to go to school. That's why I went to the community college and taught there voluntarily. And that's why I try to support as many young people that show genuine interest in getting an education. Now, times are hard. The economy is not that good. And so most people, try to make ends meet, riding motorbikes and doing things that in the long run would not improve their personal lifestyle and the community. Go to school. Education. I am an educator. With respect to educational reform, again, what are we doing to decentralize the school system? The 2011 Education Reform Act empowers the local communities to form school boards. Again, our people must take the ownership of these institutions. Again, we're so accustomed to being told what to do that even though decentralization has been placed in our laps, we don't know what to do with it. I spent 2 years in my own country, Grand Jide, volunteering, working with the local school board, get them to understand what the powers are that they have in the 2011 Education Reform Act. We're still learning. So all of you out there at home and abroad who have the experience, talk to your people. Look, America, where you are, there are schools. The schools are supported by the communities. The state provides aids. The federal government provides it. We all know that. Our system has the laws on the books. We have to take ownership of those laws until each local school board locally can take the initiative and decide who becomes principal in the school, which teachers are hired, teacher qualifications. We should not leave everything to the Minister of Education as we've done over the years. So it's a learning process. I'm with you on that. And we have been advising the Minister of Education as a member of the House who has oversight on education. I'm on the Education Committee. We try to do what's possible, what we can do now to improve the system. With the onset of the coronavirus, everything was shut down in this country. And going to school was not an option. I mean, having interaction with teachers as we know them. So given the issue with electricity and other things that are needed, the country is trying through the education system to resort to this virtual learning, distance learning. Okay, it's an experiment. In other parts of the world, like the United States, where you are, electricity is 24/7. There are places in Liberia there are no electricity. There are no roads. Okay, so we're dealing with situations that are quite different from what you have, but we're doing the best we can. Okay, in terms of advice, and some of us are personally contributing to let our people know that they should take ownership of these rules and regulations to decentralize. The gentleman from Canada made reference to his, disgust at my answers. I'm not emotional. I can't afford to be. What I'm telling you is from my heart, okay? And my reference to whatever dismissive manner you may perceive me as having said to Ms. Achevon, I mean, the propaganda, what was said and what you believe from what you heard about us, okay? Sometimes it's what you believe, okay? Issues about what crime people did, what we did. If I tell you, honestly, much of that is pure propaganda. The war itself got started on propaganda, okay? And we allow ourselves to fall with that. I heard a young man in Butuo say that my uncle David Boley was killed by Charles Julu and the AFL. We were in Monrovia. That's what we were told, okay? But, we all are part and parcel of this one Liberia, We know this country. I've got more relatives in Nima than I have in Granjide. I do. And so I think this war thing, people get hung up on it. I think we should move on. And those people who regret my inability to be remorseful, you should know why I am not, remorseful. There's nothing to be remorseful about. I say that again. Okay? We had a war, yes. It may hurt. A war is not a picnic. Okay? And people die. I didn't kill anybody during the war. Okay? Yes. You see me as chairman of LPC. I committed crimes. Bring the charges. Just bring the charges and prove your case. Okay? So I mean, I don't want to.
I mean, Dr. Boley, you said you didn't kill anybody during the war, but you were a leader.
Yes.
Of people who kill people.
Well, listen, if that's what I said, the LPC and the coalition forces, they were not just LPC, that Lofa Defense Force. Your question is, I was leader of a group that killed people, okay, that allegedly killed people. The lady said LPC specifically killed her family. I mean, so are you expect me to that I said her family, people, she lost family? I'm sorry. My remark about my father in Butro was also just to make a point that we all lost people. Wasn't that I'm not hurt by what happened to me or what happened to her. So I don't see that as Dr. Boley being unremorseful and telling the gentleman from Canada, say I'm telling them things that that they organize a war crimes court, bring it to Liberia. No, raise all the money, bring them. But let me tell you one thing. All of you who support the war crimes court, there are people who are making millions, billions of money. The civil tax, whatever they call them, including Liberians. Some of them have born false witnesses, gotten people to testify against people, including me, okay, and others, okay. There's no case. So people are still being used. Liberians are still being used against themselves and against each other. For example, the recent case with Mrs. or Agnes Taylor. They kept this young lady in jail for 2 years in London, only for the British government to say they had no case against her. But there were Liberians, people believed to be Liberians, who could not speak English, coming from Guinea and other places, producing witnesses, paid witnesses. So raise all the money you can. If it will satisfy you, bring the war crime court. All of you rally. Let's get over it and leave this war thing and go on developing our country.
Now, before you move on, Dr. Boley,
yes.
the issue with Miss Ashevon, you sat down and this lady clearly articulated as to how her parents were murdered, how her sister was raped. Again, you were the leader of the LPC, and you rightly said when you bring war or when war comes, people get killed.
Yes.
And don't you think you should be a little remorseful or respectful to this lady who just told you this thing about her parents?
Mr. Garland, this lady made an allegation against the LPC. I have no evidence that what she says is true. Okay. It's an allegation. That's what she says. I was not in Banga. She didn't see me in Banga. No, she can't point finger at me and say you were there. I mean, unlike what other people have said. So why would I offer them? I regret that she lost family members, just like I tried to indicate that we all lost family members. But how else can I, how else can I appease Ms. Achifon without seeing that a war is not a picnic? And it's not. I mean, what am I supposed to say?
Okay, let's move on.
Now, can I move on to the next issue somebody raised? Somebody raised the issue about Mr. Harris, I believe, about something. I'm trying to read my notes here. Oh, okay. Harris was the one who mentioned the Child Julu issue. Again, the mention of Child Julu, and there was the AFL. Of course, everything that happened during the war is AFL. Okay? The AFL is the worst army in the world. And AFL is crime dominated. Okay? So we should all disabuse ourselves about this prejudice. Until we do that, reconciliation is far from being in sight. Okay? I think those are the questions, basically, the two on education. We're working on some things. We're working with the administrator to make sure that our school system gets improved. In fact, I'm one of those in the House that is advocating this 20% budget allotment for education. Education and health are very important. And again, I mean, you have to lobby. You have to let your colleagues know that, look, we need to improve education. There are partnership schools. There are things. Our system is really bad off. Okay, but criticizing and not doing anything is not going to solve the problem. I agree with you. We need to do a lot more than we are doing, and some of us, including me, are working on trying to get the government to allocate more money, getting our people to take ownership of the 2014 laws, regulate the schools, take ownership, be their own school boards, like you have local school boards in the states. It's going to take education. It's going to take resources. It's going to take people who know what a school board is supposed to do. We passed these laws. Now they need to be implemented. And Mr. Gali, with respect to your comment as to, again, about this situation in Banga, I don't mean to sound, or brass or callous, as one of the respondents said, but I don't know any other way with all the prejudices, okay, against us as a people. And again, I'm not tribalistic, okay? The coalition of forces that participated with ECOMOG to bring the peace included the Lofa Defense Force, the NPFL, CRC, okay, and others. It wasn't just George Boley or the LPC. And so that organization, all these things happen, the brand, everything is LPC, and the propaganda. And sometimes you get to a point where you don't feel anything anymore because it's been said so many times in so many crude ways that you say, well, that's the people's perception. I mean, does it change me from being George Boley? No. And I know I'm not a callous person by nature, and I'm not appealing for sympathy. I'm just saying I answer your questions honestly, and if my honesty is too brash or appears to be remorseful, that's me. Thank you.
Okay. Again, that's the voice of Dr. Boley. And folks, again, let us be civil. Don't get too emotional to the point where you start to go out of character. Okay, respect yourselves, respect this platform. You can ask all the questions you want, but we ask that you please be respectful, void of profanity. Tomorrow we're gonna be a little slower, but we'll have Quincy T to come and do a little bit of entertainment for us. We'll take a break on Friday. On Monday we'll have Senator Steve Zago. He's the national chairman of the Liberty Party. He will be in our studio on Monday. Let us now go back to the telephone line and perhaps get a few calls. We have 714 now. I want to say the big thank you for your patience. 508 is the area code. Tell us your name. Welcome to the show. You're live on the radio.
Thank you. I got two questions for the gentleman there in studio guest. According to the TRC report, you, George Boley, and a few of your fellow TRC men, after the president, William Arrow was assassinated in 1980, you and a few of your guys drove to his private home in Benton and looted his house and took away his briefcase. Yet you sit there and say you are not corrupt, you never stole anything from Liberia, you never did it. How do you address yourself to that situation? My second question has to do with you, George Boley, after your LPC met advanced in the Lima County, specifically Boley, you, George Boley, you raped 208 girls. After you raped those girls, you murdered them in order to destroy evidence. Personally, raped those girls. You wanted those guys, they say it was done for some biggie or medicine or African voodoo. You have to do that in order for your voodoo to be strong. And the last thing I have to say is, you were laughing at the lady because she alleged that you killed your people, killed her family. And I mean, they say you bought and distributed among your kinsmen were all over Banga, and they want to use to murder people. So you were in Banga. Thank you.
Okay, we have 7327. Tell us your name.
Oh, actually, it's me. I want to make one more statement before I leave, Mr. Boley. Mr. Boley, this is Celia again. I just want to let you know that we knew every rebel that entered Banga. I was in Banga before Charles came there, so I see people writing because of NPSL. I just want to tell you one thing tonight. I don't need any apology from you. I don't need for you to be remorse. I did not kill your uncle. And I am a grown 48 years old. I know who killed my parents. I cannot just come online and make lies. My sister today, she's mentally ill, twisted one, and she's in Bolivia. I will tell you today on this platform with 6,000 people, I am not going to rest till we meet face to face. My brothers are not going to rest till we all meet you in Morovia. This is not going to be the end of you and myself. These are items. By watching you tonight,
kept on watching you tonight. Bring back memories. My mother was just 41 years old, a young woman who never fought. My father never worked for no government before. My mother was the business woman in Liberia, where LPP had no cause to kill her for no reason. She was not with Taylor Wood, Taylor, another Vidanga. We had no cause to be frank. I'm just telling you, you hide me so much. You took away my grandchildren, grandmother. You took away the love of my life, my first love. You took my dad from me. Today, my brother's graduated. Well, I no mother. My children cannot see grandmother. My grandchildren cannot see great grandmother. I just want you to go to bed tonight and think about everything I'm telling you today. My brother was just 5 years old today. He does not know his parents. War is not a picnic. I hope you remember that word. War is not a picnic. But, Mr. Boley, whenever you see Peter Ajifon and you hear this name, I want you to think about it over and over and over. I am not going to rest. I'm sorry. That's all I have to tell you tonight. I am not going to rest till you and myself face to face, so you can look in my face and tell me that war is not picnic. And I'm telling you today, I'm not in my chest. I will not let it go, Mr. Boley. I will not let it go. Thank you, Mr. Ashwagandhi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that does it for the callers. We'll just go back to Dr. Boley, and perhaps maybe I got one or two concerns there, then we can call it a night. Go ahead, Dr. Boley.
Thank you. Let me start with the gentleman and the TRC about the Talbot estate. This particular gentleman, these are the kinds of people who go around spreading disinformation and making allegations that have no bearing whatsoever. None. Okay? I never went to Talbot's house. I never looted Benton or Bensonville. Okay? Maybe he doesn't know what happened. And people who deal in innuendos and gossips and outright lies, disinformation, they flame passion. The coup occurred on the 12th of April. I left the prison, walked away from being hanged the day before, and I had nothing to do with the coup. I was in prison. When I came to the executive mansion, after, as you mentioned earlier, going home to my uncle and getting a haircut, right behind the mansion, the PRC put a government together. And one of the things we heard was that there was what they call it, counter coup, okay, coming from the direction of Bensonville. The second thing the PRC asked me to do was to make sure that those people that were in the Bensonville area, that they were protected, because we didn't want the soldiers going wild. Officers from the armed forces were assigned with me, Goronko Luo, and others. We went to Bensonville. And in the process, Mr. Tuazama, who was at the time Mr. Talbot's butler, was there. Went into the Bensonville property and searched, made sure nothing of the nature we were hearing in Monrovia was true. And it's true. Mr. Tuazama then handed over to Mr. Kolongo Luo in the army the briefcase, okay, one of Talbot's briefcases. And it was brought to Monrovia and delivered to the TRC. So anyone who says that George Boley went to Benton and looted, go make your case. That's a lie as a lie can be. I've heard this in the diaspora community, and I just thank you, Mr. Gali, for giving me the opportunity to clear this disinformation has been going on these last 3 decades or more by people with people who just make up stories and thrive on those stories about decent people. The other
Nah,
thing,
nah,
the other thing you said,
nah.
the other,
Dr. Boley,
yes,
just before we take leave of you, looking at your track record, how
yes,
do
sir.
you want to be remembered?
No, let me deal with the issue. The gentleman made a case that I raped 200 girls in some place in Liberia, and murdered them and then buried them to look. Nothing could be. It's not even worth talking about because it's so untrue. Okay, I don't want to even discuss it. But since he mentioned it, it's not true. Those people who are listening around the world to this program should know that, in fact, during this whole war, I never entered Nima County. So there's no way that anybody will say that I raped 200 girls and then buried them to save evidence. I mean, that is so cruel and so mean. You know, that's all I want to say about that. Okay. Um, you asked a question, and I think that's the only comment I want to make. Again, Ms. Achivon, I heard what you said. You know, again, I don't want to say anything to inflame your passion, but everybody can share tears. We all got tears to share, and it's 30 years, 40 years, we're still crying. I hope we can forget these war years and move on. Okay? Just like you wouldn't forget forever, there are people who will never forget what happened. And that's why it should not happen again so that we don't perpetuate these memories. And that's the comment I want to make on that. How do I want to be remembered? That's the question, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Since my experiences in government, all over the world, places I've been, but particularly Liberia. I'm talking to Liberians tonight and people who are associated with Liberians. The picture they paint of some of us, you have to discern for yourself what is true and what is not true. How do I want to be remembered? Everyone wants a legacy. We have seen all of the denigrating things that were said, untruthful things said about us, stories that people make up, people who sometimes you wonder about how they think, but they're people who need to be respected. However way people think, they need to be respected. And I respect everyone for his views. Or even those who think that I'm the, whatever they think of me on planet Earth, we all share this planet together. And I just want to be remembered as someone who shared this space, this public space, with the rest of mankind. And, as we write our stories, we intend to, hopefully, people will read and find out or discern for themselves what is true and what is not true. Everyone knows. Everyone you listen to this program tonight know you heard. My own situation with the U.S. immigration is this. Okay? People allege that I committed crimes. The immigration had no evidence, and they embarrassed themselves. The U.S. government embarrassed itself. They had me in detention for 26 months. In the end, I came home. So it's this type of thing that, how people remember you, Mr. Gallin. People will remember me for what they think I am. And because a lot of people really don't know me. I hope at some point in time and before long, I will put in writing for posterity, what the real George Boley is, and leave it at that.
Again, Dad, I want to say a big thank you. And there are some out there who are saying I didn't do enough to protect my guests. I'm pretty sure you were protected tonight. All that ask, I guess, to ask any type of question you want to ask, but just be respectful to the guests. So the border said no, we're not saying I didn't protect him tonight, but the thing is, he's a public figure, and you should know the environment you're coming into. People were hurt, We have war, and you understand, people are angry. We're traumatized. You know, we
Yeah.
need a complete rehabilitation. We need reconciliation, so that we ask the tough questions. Well, all we
I
have
agree.
is be respectful to our guests. And with that, Dr. Boley, again, we want to say a big thank you for taking up time of the busy schedule, staying up late at this night to join us tonight. And of course, feel free next time to come on board. We want to thank you for being here tonight.
To all of those that listen to me, thank you for listening. Or perhaps you heard the other Dr. Boley that you don't know of. So everything I've said, look into it and find out the facts. And, you know, I've written 2 books. The latest one is The Untold Truth, U.S. Department of Homeland Security. So those of you who think that Boley committed war crime and this and that, look into that. Do your own investigation. And I'm not promoting it. I'm just telling you about me. So next time, maybe you read these things, you'll get to know that I'm not what people portray me to be. Thank you very much, and thank you for your time.
Again, folks, that's all the time we have to be with you. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place. Please allow me to borrow the wordings of the wise man. Tough times don't last, tough people do. The heart of a man is never known until he rises. There's no second chance to make that first impression. This has been yours truly, the medicine of the microphone, the golden voice of Liberia. As for the original giant, that now you know me. Just sit to Fayeke. Sebon Florida and Jaco, no, Chiraji, would no Muzo, Muzo, and one year, Matt, double to dry. And you are the wapo. I'm out for God. Have a good night.
Thank you.